Hello, 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 everybody. welcome. Um, if there's any issues today, please let me know. For all my OGs, all my streaming OGs, I think I finally fixed all the issues, and we made it better today. All right, I'm gonna show you how in a second. But welcome. We have a lot to talk about today. I'm sure you guys have a lot of comments. I mean, what a week! There's been a lot of opinions, and I'm here for the conversation. So I'll let some people start pulling in. Let me see who we got in here. Billy Morgan, what's up, Billy? In my purview, good evening. What's up? Oh, let me show you what I can do. My goodness. Taking as a podcast. Hello. Check this out. Hey, what up, Danny? What up, Marvin? Marvin's one of my students, y'all. He's great. Let's get right into impact. Absolutely, my man. Let's get right to it. Danny said, hi, Ivan. In chat, I have a question. How can I see the Impact XT at the bottom view in the small window without having to open up the instrument? Okay, we'll get into it. We'll get into all of it. But, yeah. By the way, you guys can hear and see me, right? Just want to make sure. I'm looking at the thing right now. Let me see. One second. I think you guys, can you guys verify for me real quick? If you can hear me and see me well, just, I don't know, let me know in the chat. Because I've had a long history of like just streams be messing me up, yo. Streams be messing me up. Yes, perfect. It must be some lag then. Yeah, I think it's like some weird lag. Loud and clear. Love it. But yeah, you guys like the by the way, I figured out it was me. Last time when we couldn't get the audio, y'all, it was me. It was my fault. Cuz basically I also use OBS to record whenever I do videos, but that setting is slightly different, so you have to have the right channels like linked up. But I fixed that, and we also got the highlights. I thought they'd be useful today for the conversation we're about to have. But anyway, I'm super pumped to have you guys here. Thank you for hanging out with me. And please excuse the mess. I leave for I have to update the studio. There's a lot of things that I have to just sort of like put back and put together, but I haven't been able to get to it. So please excuse the mess. Sacred Soul Sessions said, I can tell you really use Studio One versus busy work. Yo, listen, bro. I was having a conversation with one of my homies. She's a super dope producer out from LA. She's from Tampa, LA. Shout out to Trinity. Man, there's a lot of chatter this week, right? There's a lot of chatter going on, and I'd love to get into it. Love to get into it. But it is a hot topic. Studio One / Fender Studio this week is a hot topic. So let's start there. How about that? Because I actually have a list of things that I want to get to, some clarifications, and then obviously just my overall thoughts, because there was a lot of things that I couldn't put out in that video. You guys know how it goes, right? You have to be concise and succinct a lot of times, but here we can just chat. And so if you're unaware, I'm sure you have, but for the people who are just not in the know, Studio One got rebranded this week to Fender Studio Pro. Now, the first thing that I want to say is, because I've seen a couple of videos on this for, everybody's hopping on the Studio Fender Pro train this week. This is not a new DAW. This is not Fender's new DAW. This is, you know what I mean? Like, Fender purchased Personas back in like late 2021. So this isn't necessarily new. What happened was that even though they owned them, they kind of, I guess, let them do their own thing for a while. But starting this week, or maybe even prior, I don't know how long this has been going on or in the works, but Personas has given up all recording assets. So that's the Studio One software. I think recording interfaces as well. Basically anything having to do with audio production and recording is now being operated exclusively by the Fender side, by the parent company. And then Personas is now doing just live stuff. So like their live mixers, their speakers, that kind of thing. Now, did they need to change the name? I don't know. Maybe that's something we need to discuss. Personally, I don't think it was necessary. I think it was a weird move. I think it was weird because, I don't know, man, there's like 12 to 15 years of just like brand equity and brand recognition that they decided, maybe just, I don't know. It's a little bit weird to me. But what I will say, and I'll share the screen with you right now, it looks the exact same. It's not a new DAW. It still looks the exact same. We have obviously some improvements, some things that I wish they would implement in further sessions or in future versions. But at the end of the day, this is still the same DAW. It just has a Fender sticker on it. So that's the part that I'm unsure whether it was necessary or not, But that's essentially what's been happening this week. In my purview said mine's in constant flux. What do you mean? Like, is it like buggy for you? Someone did reach out to me. Shout out to Yash on Instagram. I'm guessing there's some sort of bug right now where it doesn't, when you export the stems, it doesn't export the automation. And from what I understand, that's already in the works of being like ironed out in the next update. The other thing that I'll point out, because I saw this too in a couple of the comments in the video that I put out and a few others, the expiration you see on the About section of Studio One does not mean they're taking away your perpetual license. They're not doing that. You guys have to remember, whenever you purchase, the subscription version is available if you want to do year-to-year sort of thing or monthly. But if you do a perpetual purchase, it's $200, but they give you a year of updates. And so that countdown is until when your updates run out. But when that date comes, then you still get to keep the software. They're not taking it away from you. We could also sit here and discuss how 7 didn't really have that many updates, right? So that's something to also discuss there. But just to kind of give some clarification. Let's see here. I guess I don't get the name change. Fender owns them. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if the branding was necessary. You know what I mean? Because when I think of Fender, and mind you, I have a Strat, I have a bass. They're fine. They're great, and I've actually dealt with them in person. Like, I know these people. They're fantastic people. Did that branding need to happen? I don't know. But when I think of Fender, I think of guitars. Are we gonna make the switch? Not really, bro. To be honest with you. Well, here's the thing, and I'm gonna just be straight up with you guys. Like, no fluff, no, like, just super, super honest. You guys saw that video that I put out of me, like, not wanting to be exclusively making Studio One tutorials. And part of the reason was, I'm just tired of talking about, like, I'm tired of being a talking manual. I want to make some shit. But at the same time, like, I don't think it's a good idea to just put all your eggs in one basket, specifically when a company can just come and change and do whatever they want to do. Now, mind you, that doesn't make them evil. They can do whatever they want. But at the same time, I don't want to just be so tied to something. In general, I really just care about making music. I happen to love Studio One, and I've been using it since version 2, since like 2012. But at the end of the day, I don't care what it is. I just want to make music. And so what I'm thinking is, this will be like home-based DAW because it's just what I know. And to me, at this level in my career, I care about speed. I care about creativity. I care about just making shit, right? I don't want to have to relearn something different. At the same time, I might just start to dabble, just kind of brushing up, taking off some of the rust when it comes to other DAWs. So we'll see what happens. But to answer your question, yes, I'm still sticking with the DAW. It's still the same one, right? So until they do something differently where they maybe change it drastically or start to do some weird shit, then we'll have that conversation. But for now, I'm sticking with it. George Savage Music said, I just upgraded to Fender Studio Pro after I saw the new updates. I'll be honest with you guys, like, the naming is weird. I think they could have maybe done a little bit better in terms of like the release and the marketing or whatnot, but I actually really fuck with some of these updates. I think they're actually, there's a lot of room for improvement, 100%. But there's some really cool stuff that I'm excited about as well. So we'll dive into it here in a second. But know about your studio. Oh, I'm not switching studios yet. We are in talks of like moving houses with me and my wife. But for now, what's happening, dude, I kid you not, I am such a creature of habit. I have gear from like 15 years ago. If you guys saw that video, I just upgraded my MIDI keyboard, and that was like an Akai MBK 61, like the OG original version. So I'm starting this year to slowly update things. I got new speakers. I'm finally changing my Yamahas to a pair of Focals. I'm really pumped about that. I got the new sub from IK Multimedia, which, bro, that thing is kind of cool because it has room correction built in that then spreads out to your mains. I'll make a video on that. And there's a couple other things here and there that I just have to get down. But I'm really excited about these updates. I'll do a video on it. Binary Overflow says, I don't think it was necessary, but it definitely isn't a deal breaker. I agree. I was having this conversation as well with a few other friends. It's weird, but you know what also, because I had to ask for clarification. They kind of labeled it as Fender Studio Pro, but the Fender part kind of felt like the PreSonus in Studio One. So is it just called Studio Pro? You know what I mean? Because nobody called it PreSonus Studio One. We could just called it Studio One. So, and even when you like open up the dock or open up the app in your computer, it just says Studio Pro. So regardless, yeah, it's a little weird about the name change, but at the end of the day, like, as long as it stays the software that I know and love, I really don't care what they call it. Hey, Ivan, this is Ken. What up, Ken? Hey, yeah, of course I remember. Ken, absolutely. Welcome in, brother. I appreciate you being here. When you open up your application, it says Studio Pro, so I don't see the Fender. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, so like when you open up the software, you just see Fender in that homepage, and then after that, there's like no Fender like labeling. So I don't know. In all honesty, it's weird, but it doesn't bother me. I'm just here to. I just want to make music. When I think of Fender, I think Fender Bender. Fair, fair. Bro, are you gonna switch to another DAW or still with Studio One? Yeah, I'm definitely sticking with Studio One, but I will say this. I actually really like Logic as well. Before I switched to Studio One, back in like 2012, I was in Logic. I was in Logic 9 before they even went to 10. And so I still own a license because with Apple, when you purchase a license, you get to have it forever. And they're implementing some really, really cool shit. On top of the fact, and listen, Fender, PreSonus, if you're watching, I really, really love Logic's drum machine designer. That is literally how I program and how I love to work with drums. If we can get that in Studio Fender Pro or whatever, that's endgame. You know? But yeah, I'll be dabbling with a few other things. I really tried to get down with Ableton, but I don't know, bro. Like, I know you can do so much with it, but it's just so weird to me. That interface is backwards. From North Carolina, what's up? What's up, y'all? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sacred said I've been using those guitar effects on my vocals. Yes. Yes. I have, I really, really tried my hardest to put out the new features video by like yesterday or this morning, but there was quite a bit. And so I'll have it ready by like Monday or like Tuesday. But yeah, I went over some of those like presets. Really, really good. I actually really enjoyed it. Let's see here. Wheelhouse says, I actually don't mind the new DAW. Like you say, it can be called anything as long as I can. Exactly. Yeah, bro. Like, that's all I care about. At this point, I've built my template to a way that I like it. I know where things are at. I love the splice integration. I'm moving quick. And so as long as they don't do anything crazy, and it's just the branding, I don't care. I don't care. I agree. I'm also staying with Studio One. You know what it is, though? I'll be honest with you guys. This is why I wanted to wait a few days to have this live. Because, in all honesty, like, yeah, like, we love our DAWs, you know, Studio One gang, for sure. But I knew that day, emotions were high. And so I was like, you know what, let's take a few days. Let me read through some of the comments, too. That way I get a good perspective as, like, to what the community is saying, and then we can have this discussion. But, whatever, you know, it's fine. Please talk about the audio MIDI conversion. Yeah, we'll get into all of it. We'll get into all of it. What up, Don? Welcome, welcome, welcome. They need to add equal slices. Bro, I am doing a whole dedicated video on the direction, or at least the updates, because I briefly mentioned it in this video that's coming where I go over all the new features, but I'm doing a dedicated video on Impact and Sample 1 because it's not quite there, but they are heading in the right direction. And I don't know if Gregor's going to watch this, but I'll poke a little bit of fun at him. I think for a long time, you know, and this is not to their own fault. I think you just, if you're unfamiliar, you don't know. But historically, I don't think a lot of the maybe PreSonus team, I don't think they were really into the hip hop space or pop space because that workflow is different. But I did see Gregor in Atlanta at Mixnick, and he was out there making some banging trap beats. So I feel like he's put on now. You know, he's hip to the game. So yeah, shout out to Gregor. I mean, how much? Create Beat says, I mean, how much will DAWs add within features before it's just all AI anyways? That's a good point. That's a whole other conversation, man. AI and whatever. My whole opinion on that is like, I'm not against it, but it shouldn't replace the process. It should be a means to an end, not the whole thing. Like if you're using AI just to prompt some shit and get stuff out or whatever, that's weird. Like it could be a tool, but I actually like making music. So I don't know. I hope they don't make it all AI. Like I still want to go through that journey. Like I like the craft, you know? Yo, my dog R&B. If you guys don't know, that's a homie, bro. R&B Justice. We met last year at NAMM. I hope I see you there again, brother. A fantastic producer. He's done stuff with like Wiz Khalifa and a few other people. But he if you want to hear some dope beats, go check him out. Go check out my boy R&B Justice. I'm calling it F8. Like Marvin, like the Fast and Furious 8. Fender Studio. Nobody will say Studio Pro. It sounds dumb. I don't know, man. It's gonna take, for me, like the biggest thing is like in my brain, it's been so ingrained to say Studio One for like 12 years now. That's not something that you just get rid of immediately. You know what I mean? It's gonna take a while. That's for sure. I do like their amps, but when it says native, does it mean low latency? From my understanding, Studio One, look, there we go. Fender Studio Pro. Studio Pro has some built-in function to make things low latency, but no, when they say native, I think they just mean like it's stock, like it comes with the software. Have you tried the new native plugins? I like the new guitar and bass plugins, Fender Native and Rumble. I've been using the Helix LT and Helix Native for several years. I did, man. I was playing around with them today. They have like over 200 presets on that Mustang Native, and then the Rumble's pretty good too. I really enjoyed it. Although I didn't play around with it too much, but there's so much customization because you can swap out the amp. I believe you can swap out the cab. I don't think you can swap out mics, so it's not like that crazy in depth, but it is pretty good. New Logic talking subscription. So it's kind of the same thing. Wheelhouse, I think historically Logic has just been a one-time purchase, $200. Now they're doing sort of what everybody else is doing, even Fender, where like they're still giving it to you for $200, but now they're introducing a subscription service. So yeah. Charles said, Ivan, if you're in contact with Presonus, tell them to copy everything in Koala Sampler into Impact XC. It'll be the best sampler drum machine in the world. Ooh, Charles, I don't think I'm familiar with Koala. I'll have to look that one up. But yeah, I'm gonna be seeing the Presonus Fender team next week at NAMM. So I'll dive into it. They're always open to suggestions. And you know what? I will say this. To their credit, maybe they're, again, I mentioned this in the last video, maybe it's not at the pace that we would like, but they do listen. They do listen. So I'll mention it. I'll look into it and I'll mention it for sure. Don said, I'm staying with Studio Pro, but really looking forward to what Logic Pro 12 has, or what it's going to be. Ableton is what you already said. It's not for me. Yeah, all respect to the Ableton users, but my brain just cannot compute when I look at Ableton. And I've tried it. Maybe I just need some lessons from somebody who actually knows what they're doing. You know? Charles said, I'm just going to keep calling it Studio One and pretend like nothing happened. That's how I live most of my life sometimes, bro. You know what I mean? Just ignorance is bliss. I'm waiting before the update. Oh, before you update. Yeah, so as I mentioned a little bit before, I think the only bug that I've been made aware of is that whenever you export stems, it doesn't export the automation. But I have been told that's in the works of being cleared out. So, yo, Goose. First of all, guys, can we get a round of applause for Goose? Goose here is my thumbnail creator, my graphic artist, and he's been killing it as of late. So if you guys like the thumbnails, that's all Goose right here. He's a fantastic graphic designer. Probably the best I've had in a long, long time, if I'm being honest. And he also edits videos. Fantastic. I also have Reaper, Harrison, Ableton. Yeah, I mean, you know, it doesn't hurt to learn a couple of DAWs. That's for a fact. I might start even making some beats in Logic as I mentioned, I still have that license, so yeah, never hurts to sort of diversify yourself, you know? Wheelhouse, they replaced the Z for low latency to a D. Really? Did they really? Did they really? Let me see here. I was playing some Metallica earlier, y'all. It's still stuck in my head. What am I looking at here? Audio setup. Processing. Oh, snap. That is strange. I wonder why. Maybe that has a different label too. It used to be low Z or something like that, right? Now it's a D. Native Direct. Huh. Native Direct monitoring. Well, I guess it's new branding there as well. Kenneth says, I am staying with Studio One. Got my back up and running after I was in another DAW for over a year. So you want to introduce me to S1? Yeah. Same, man. I've been using this software for 10 years, so it'd be something completely different to just like cold turkey swap over to something else. Wheelhouse says Fender just added the channel strips to the bottom like Ableton. Yes. Matter of fact, why don't we discuss? Why don't we take a look here? All right, let's take a look at some of these new features. I'm gonna say this, and you know, as much shit as we talk about Ableton, I really love this thing. I love this channel strip thing because I'll tell you what. I was telling this to Marvin the other day. Sometimes, and I get it, like the kind of music you make in your workflow will impact how you use these tools, but that's okay. If you don't use some of them or if you use more of the others, that's fine. A lot of times when I'm making beats, I don't need to see the whole mixer. If I am mixing a record, which of course I still do when I'm working with artists, then yeah, I want to see this entire thing. But if I'm just producing, if I'm just making beats, and if I'm just working on one specific sound, this is so fire, dude. I absolutely love this. Because then, you know, I'm going to use my toolbar here, shameless plug, but you can add an EQ, you can add whatever you want. And the cool thing is that the native plugins have the interfaces already, or the configurations for these. Basically, macros is what they are, right? They're already configured. And so if I move the depth here, it moves the depth. I also think it's pretty cool how, at least for the EQ, you're able to see that EQ directly on here. That is clean. That's just clean. You know, like it just helps me focus on that one sound that I am working on. And then if you do have a third-party plugin, like the Pro Q3 here that didn't have anything registered, you just right-click and then you go over to edit parameters. And then you can add whatever you want, right? You can add the first band, the second band, boom. The frequency is what I would probably want. And so you can add them in this kind of way. And then, you know, you're able to also move things around. But I love this thing. I love the channel strip. 1000%. You know. Charles says I was getting an error message when storing presets in Impact, but the presets stored properly. Good, I'm glad that you got that figured out. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Kenneth said I can't get with the Ableton GUI. Yeah, me either, man. I don't know. Shout out to all the Ableton users. I know you guys can probably like run laps around us, but I just can't. I cannot. The channel strip is finally going to get me to give a bro, Jesus Christ. Read, Ivan. The channel strip is finally going to give me a reason to use the knobs on my Atom SQ. That is a very good point. And my goodness, now that you bring it up, Charles, you guys peeped the new controllers? When I was on the phone with Personas about like 2 months ago, when they like told me about what was going on, they briefly mentioned that they were going to have new controllers drop in, but they didn't tell me when. So I was just as surprised whenever in the middle of all this week, I go to their site and they're, you know, there. They're not available yet. They're going to drop sometime in the spring, maybe in like a month or two, but you guys better believe as soon as those get in here, I'm definitely making videos and testing them out. Because I've had both the Atom and the Atom SQ for a couple years now. My Atom SQ died, unfortunately. That's why you don't see it anymore. But I'm super pumped to see how that integration looks and unfolds. Billy said the Fender name is much more recognizable than Personas. I believe it was a great marketing decision. I think the community will grow. Yeah, there's also like a business sort of perspective to sort of understand, because they're trying to grow market cap, and so there's a Fender has a shit ton, like they eclipse what maybe Personas had in terms of recording software. So if they sort of brand this in a way where they can bring in more guitarists, then yeah, money at the end of the day, But absolutely. The only thing I like better in Ableton is a warping audio. Yeah, I have a homie who uses Ableton. That warping audio, and he was showing it to me. They do some magic things for sure. They look promising. They really do. Talking about the controllers. I love the Atom, but it is clunky to use. Oh, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, Binary. I'd love to know what's clunky about it for you. I will say this though, and again, I'll once I get it in, I'll obviously take a look and we'll dive into it. But I'm also meeting up with Serato at NAMM. I want to check out their slab. I don't know if you guys have peeped that, but the slab looks fire. Not that I would use Serato Studio necessarily to make beats, but it's a native controller for Serato Sample, which I actually use a lot for sampling. And so if we can get some functionality into the new controllers or even future updates of Impact, bro. Don said, I love how you can finally automate sample length in Sample 1 XT. Yes, absolutely. In the mod section for dance music. Yeah, that mod matrix, if you guys don't know what he's talking about, I'll show you really quickly here. Matter of fact, should we get into it? Let me read a few more comments because I do want to dive into Impact XT for a second here. I have to disagree. Studio knocks it out the park. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, Charles, but they do a pretty good job at a lot of things. What about other DAWs? Nuendo, Cubase, FL Studio, Pro Tools, Reaper, Bitwig. Honestly, man, you can use whatever you want. It's really not. Bye, Marvin. See ya. You can use whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as you're making music, that's what matters. Charles says, Studio One tempo syncs the entire song perfectly. The first thing oh, you're talking about the warp thing. Yeah. The first thing I do is, Yeah. So, check it out. Let's talk about that for a second. Because to me, the impact stuff, to me was probably like the biggest thing for sure. If you guys remember, in earlier versions, or at least in version 7, and I think it might have been like introduced in 6, I don't remember, there's a couple of things. We had the ability to splice or cut up like a drum loop. And so, for example, let me show you. If I bring up a drum loop here, and yeah, let's do this one. Could you guys hear Studio One? Let me know if you can hear the DAW. But essentially, let me clear out this bank. So for a while now, we've been able to drag this over to pad 1, and then if you press the shift key, it would just kind of slice it into all the pads. The problem with that is that in previous versions, it would just do it at the transient, and so you didn't really get an option as to where those chops would happen. It would just happen automatically. Now, they basically have integrated the audio bend feature from the timeline, which we have historically used to time stretch and audio warp and do all these crazy things. That's basically here on the window. And so if you don't like it, you can sit here and like move those bend markers around. That's all it is. Like I can do this here on the timeline. If I go over to, I believe it's this one here. This is called the audio bend. You hit analyze, and it just kind of detects some of those transients, and I can move those around. Kind of the same thing. We now have that in Impact. And then once you sort of get what you want, then you can hit slice, and then they all get put on different pads. I think this kind of workflow works well for drums, because for drums, you're just getting these transient peaks, right? So it's really, really cool. And then a a lot of times what will happen is before you actually hit slice, it'll ask you if you want to create a part. And basically what that means is that it'll turn all those chops into MIDI notes. Right? It's doing double right now because I got to mute that. But essentially you can come into the MIDI parts and then re-chop that to whatever you want, make different patterns. Now, here's my gripe. And this is what I'm going to say in one of the videos coming up, but this method does not work well for melodic chops. Because if you guys saw a video that I did a while back, I explained it better there, but when it comes to melodic chopping, you really don't want to chop at the transients. You want to chop at the grid because you want to go along with the chord. A lot of times if you chop just at the transient, you might get like these weird, like tiny chops that don't make sense. And so if you look at an MPC user, if you're an MPC user, you can verify this. They'll chop on every quarter note. When I made my macro for the productivity toolbar here, the chop sample macro, that's why I set it to a quarter note and a half note, because it chops musically on the grid. And when you do that, that makes it easier to rearrange those chops into something else that makes sense. And so what I want is, what I would love, keep this, because this is still really, really good for re-chopping or redoing drum loops, but then give us a grid here I would want, right? Or if we're really talking about like endgame, then make this like Drum Machine Designer. Make every pad an instance of sample 1 with its own separate piano roll. That to me would be super, super cool. You know? What's your equipment? The mic, the interface, monitors, headphones, MIDI sub? Oh, bro. I have probably at this point too many things, but I'll give you a quick rundown. And I'm sorry, I'm reading comments that are a little behind, so I'll catch up to... I'm sure you guys have commented on what I just showed, but let's see. I'm switching my main monitors. I used to have the Yamaha HS80Ms, the very first versions. I just got the Focal Shape 65s. I have the new IK Multimedia sub. That thing is pretty sick. My secondaries are the iLoud MTMs. Interface, I have a Apollo X8 on the rack, and that's daisy chained to an Apollo Twin on my desk, which gives me 2 extra inputs, and then obviously the big knob to control the volume. Microphone, currently I'm using a Warm Audio WA47. It's pretty good. And then here on the desk, I'm using a Presonus PD70. So yeah, you can edit the slices. Yeah, you definitely can. But I still and yeah, that's really good. I love it. But for melodic stuff, I do wish they would allow us to have a grid or give us a button to chop like at every quarter note or something like that. To slice at the grid, something like that. Like a slice at the grid function in Impact would be super cool. Charles said, this is why I think they should add equal slices, most sample... Precisely, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. Precisely. Like, I think it's super, super cool that we have this feature in there now, because for drums, it makes sense. If I want to reprogram a drum loop, super fire. But for melodic stuff, it doesn't work quite that same way. We need to be able to, like, cut at quarter notes, half notes. That just makes sampling easier. Denny said, do you think you can show how I can open Impact in the lower zone? Oh, yeah, let's take a look. I don't know if they took that feature away, because I believe what you're referring to is like before, you could open it in the, like down here, right? And so, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Like, I might be this. Yeah, this is it. This is the button. So, check it out. Double click on your event that's on Impact, and it'll pop this up, right? And then if you go to the top here, the top rightmost area, it's called Pad Controls. Just click that, and then you can resize this if you want to make this a little bit bigger. Right? And so you can kind of have it that way. I hope that helps. And so let me go back to the chat here. And the headphones, yeah, just the M50X is for the headphones. I've actually had these for a really long time too. I've had to replace the pads, but they work fantastic. Charles said, you can do it on the time slice, but then you have to change the grid. Yeah, exactly. Bro, exactly. You understand. Exactly. Yeah, I wish they would allow us to do some grid chopping inside of because what I do now, and again, this is why I basically created that macro. Let's do a gospel loop. I'll show you guys real quickly. That's fire. We're supposed to be talking Studio One. Get me out here in the creative zone. Okay. So a lot of times, what is this, like a D minor, 126? Let's just set it to 126 here. Yeah, so the way I built that macro, because I didn't want to go into impact, have to move those around. I might as well just do it in one click, chop sample, quarter note, boom. You see what I mean? Like, if you were to do it by the transient, it would be like so many, like such small chops that it wouldn't make sense. You also want to make sure we put these on the same choke group so they don't overlap. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. Oh my God, I lost my comment spot. Danny said, perfect, awesome. This feature is so nice. Sorry for writing so briefly. I'm cooking right now. No, man, I appreciate you being here. You're out here cooking and you're spending time with me, with us. I appreciate you, Danny. Thank you for being here. Skip no beats. Skip no beats. That's right. Tell me, when working with the chord selector, how do you know what key you are in? Ooh, okay. This is another one of my favorite features. Let me show y'all. So, in previous versions of Studio One, we've had a chord track. Like, that's not new, right? And whenever you clicked up here, it would give you a chord. And in previous versions, no matter how many times you clicked up here, it would just give you the root chord or the first chord of whatever key you were in. And for me, historically, that's been based off of the key you're in over here at the bottom. And so, for example, I've had it set to C, it would make a C. And so if we now have it set to, say, for example, a G, then it would make a G, right? But again, in previous versions, no matter how many times you clicked up here, it would just give you that same G over and over. Now they have a new thing called a chord assistant. That's fire. When I was reading the manual, it was saying that you needed to have at least 2 chords in the chord track for it to start making these like AI smart suggestions. But from my experience, as long as you start clicking things like sequentially, it'll start loading them up. So for example, like, peep this. I'm in the key of G major. I just clicked once to get that chord track and the chord there. Boom. Now we got a C. Right? And I can obviously make this however long I want. Let me just shorten this real quickly. We also up here now got the ability to move these in the same way that we could or that we can with events in the timeline. So I can move these together. I can move these separately depending on whether I hover towards the top or towards the bottom. I think that's fire. And so what we could also do is, let's go ahead and preview this chord. And for the instrument, I'm going to use Nexus because you can use another virtual instrument. And so let's go ahead and play track. So you see, like, it just came up with that chord, and then if I click again, then it gives me another chord, another chord. Like, this is making up a chord progression for me. And what you could also do is, once you do have at least 2 or more, you could also drop down this little arrow, and it gives you some suggestions for what it thinks could work really well. Now, I think this is where like the AI stuff might be coming in. I think this might be the second instance. The first might have been with the stem separation in Studio One 7, and now we're getting this. And so I could create another chord here, drop this down, make this a D, and then maybe do something like that, and then an E minor. And now, and if it's a little too loud, yeah, please let me know. But essentially now we got this chord progression that I came up with in seconds. Fire. Super cool. And you know, like, at least for me, people sometimes get mad, like, oh, why don't you just play your own chords? Yeah, I mean, I still like to play my own shit. Like, I'm still a musician. But if I'm just, like, quickly sketching things out, then this is cool. This is cool. And especially if you don't know theory, this could help you, like, learn some stuff. I think stuff like this is incredible. And then, of course, look, once you kind of have this, you can always just bring it down to any virtual instrument, and it gives you the MIDI. If you press the G key, it consolidates everything into one event. The only thing that I'm going to say about this is that I wish for future versions they would consider inversions, voicings. Because if you notice, and if you don't know what an inversion is, it's just rearranging the order of the notes in the chord. This is a huge jump. From chord 1 to 2 is a lot. And so I would have probably played it like this. Let me solo this. Let me actually turn this off so we don't hear the chord track anymore. So instead of this, something like this. It's just a more natural sort of flow, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm still pretty happy with that. I love the fact that we got this ability, no? What's your opinion about the two-step sequencer between Studio One and Logic Pro? I'm gonna be honest, I really don't use step sequencers. No hate, but that's the reason why I didn't like FL Studio. FL Studio was my first DAW. I'm sure that everybody messed around with the cracked version of FL back in the day, back when it was Fruity Loops. But I just couldn't fuck with the whole like step sequencer playlist kind of thing. My brain didn't wrap around it. I like to see a timeline. And so I know that we have the pattern sort of variation thing in Studio One, and we've had it for a while, but I just never use it. Not because it's bad, but it's just not the workflow that I use. You know? Charles said, I learned my chopping techniques from Ivan. This is a fact. I'm telling y'all, you don't want it for drums. Chop away at the transient. That's fine. For melodies, chop on the grid. Quarter notes or half notes. I wouldn't steer you wrong. You know? Dream Slide Productions. What throws me is if you find a sample in Splice and you have a time stretch in sessions, when you move it directly to Impact, it doesn't step away. Yeah, it's not perfect, man. Like, there's a lot of things in there that are not necessarily like to the T. But I will say I thoroughly enjoy the fact that I have Splice, almost to the fact that it makes me upset because I have a ton of preset packs and sample packs, and I paid for these things, and so I want to use them, but it just makes it so convenient to be like, oh, I need a snare, let me type it in. Oh, I need like a boom bap snare, let me type it in. You know. Although I am looking for a sample, what is it called, organizer. That kind of thing. You know, if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. Because I do still want to use my samples. Only way to do that is to put the timeline, bounce it to a new event. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's a little tedious, but... I tell everyone Studio One is an MPC 3000 on steroids. It really... Bro, listen. That's why sometimes I'm like, could this be better? Yes, everything could be better. But does it help me be creative? Also, yes. Two things can be true. I can wish for more while at the same time using what I have and enjoying it to make some music. And so, yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. You can also store in the chord track. Yes, very, very good point. 1,000%. And this is what he's talking about. Now with Studio One 8, or Jesus Christ, Fender Studio Pro 8, you can store your chord progressions. So I was showing you guys earlier how you can create these chords. Well, now you can, once you have a progression that you like, you can just right click and store chord preset. And it even tells you what it is. This is a 1-4-5-6 in the key of G major, I think I was in. And so if you're like, I really like that, save it for later. Bring it back in another session. Nobody says you can't reuse chords. The ping button on the new reverb is cool. Yes, absolutely. And what he's talking about there, y'all, is we got a new reverb here called a Studio Verb, which looks pretty sick. It kind of reminds me of like the Lexicon. I believe, what is it, like the 224 or something like that? But essentially, you can send a short burst of audio through the full frequency spectrum of this plugin and be able to sort of get an idea of what your reverb is going to sound like. And so then I can adjust it. You know, I can mess with the pre, I can mess with the low cut, the size. So this is pretty clean in terms of like being able to sculpt your reverb before you even run anything through it. I think that's super fire. Super fire. Let's see what is here. Harmony. Oh, God, I lost that. Ken said Harmony Wizard will work for inversions. Harmony Wizard. Oh, I think that's like a scripted. Oh yeah, that's the scripted plugin thing. I haven't messed around with that too much, if I'm being honest with you. Mr. Terps, smash a like for our boy. He's been doing this for this. Hey man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You know what I mean? I do it for the people. No, but I listen on some like just being honest with you guys. When I first got started, and when this channel first got started, it was a vlog channel. Because I was, at that time, I had just tried to do this like self-employment thing, you know, working in a studio. And so it was really just like me showing clients. And then eventually, because Studio One was in such an early phase and people didn't know about it, they were like, what is that? And so I tried to make videos that I wanted to see. Because ain't nobody was helping nobody back in the day, right? There were no tutorials like that. There was nothing. So I was trying to give back. So I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you guys have found the channel useful. Sample organizer. Oh, synonym. You know what? I'm going to make a note. I'm going to make a note because I will take all the suggestions you guys have. 1000%. Synonym. Danny said, I swear to you, when it comes to sample organizers, I've tried them all. ADSR Cosmos. Okay. Loop Cloud. Really? I worked with Loop Cloud on some stuff like way back in the day when I was doing more like plugin reviews. But if you like Loop Cloud, I'll give it another go. I haven't had it on this computer because I switched from an iMac to a MacBook a couple years back and I haven't re-downloaded it. But if you like it, I'll take your word for it. Fuego said, change it back, Personas. Change it back. Ken said, I will keep the previous S1 versions for things I don't know. Oh, you just reminded me. Ken, you just reminded me. For now, and this is just a general practice. This is nothing against like Fender or Personas or whatever. This is a general practice that I do just like a safety mechanism. Whenever you install version 8, it does not replace version 7. That's number 1. When you install it, do not delete 7 though. Because what'll happen is in the beginning, like with anything, it could be this, it could be the new iPhone, it could be the new whatever. There's always bugs. And whenever you open up an old session of Studio One into Studio Pro, it won't let you go back. And if you're a working producer, you do not want to be in that situation. And so the way that I'm sort of navigating it is I'm keeping both on my machine. I'm keeping version 8 and I'm keeping version 7. Any new shit I make, like any new beats or whatever, I'll do it on 8. But if it's an important project, I open that in 7. And I don't really transition until that I know that things, you know, have been like worked out. But trust me, especially if you're getting paid for these things or whatever, or you know, or whatever the case might be, you don't want to be in that situation. I made a few neo soul and Afro chord presets. Oh, dope, bro. That's fire. I'm telling you, I really like this update. It's bringing in a whole new level of creativity. Cause yeah, I'm thinking you could create chord presets. You could create like channel racks, because basically that's what the overview is, right? Just like a channel rack, an effect rack. A lot of cool stuff. Is the new Fender controller compatible with version 7? Fantastic question. I don't know. There's not a lot of information that's been given out at the moment, but I'm assuming so. Like, it'd be weird if they didn't. In all honesty, you know, I don't know. I'm not gonna speak too much on things, but I would have gave up on Studio One if it wasn't for Ivan's videos. Oh, bro, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you guys. I do what I can. The AI sample organizer from Loop Cloud is absolutely amazing. Simply drag and drop. Oh, interesting. Okay, and remind me, Danny, is this like a subscription thing, or like do you just download it? Is it like Cosmos where it's like, or like a one-time purchase, or like what does that look like? Because I will look into it. If you like it, I'll look into it. Oh, even Charles, Loop Cloud is official, but it's a monthly subscription. Yeah, Cosmos from Waves. Okay, because I recently, I think it might have been like late last year that I bought, like in October, I bought Cosmos because I was just curious, but I haven't really like dove into it. So. Make sure you check out Ivan's toolbar. Fire. I appreciate you, Billy. Yes, shameless plug to everybody here. Shameless plug. I do have some Studio One tools for sale. I have 2 templates, a production template, an engineering template. I have a beat making toolbar, which basically lets you make beats really, really quickly. And I can show that here in a second. And then I have a Studio One course. Now, the templates and the toolbar already all work with version 8. They're compatible. The course is going to get some updates in the next coming couple of weeks. But that can be found at my website, ivancalderon.com/studio1, I believe. I haven't changed the URL just yet. But check it out. I also have them bundled together in a couple of different what I call systems. So if you want the workflow system, that's essentially just kind of like the tools without the course. And if you're brand new and you're just trying to learn it from the top down, then I would get the mastery system. That would include the course as well. And I promise you it'll be the best Studio One course you ever take. I didn't skip anything. If you've watched my videos, I'm very detailed, but not overwhelming. I'm gonna guide you from top to bottom. So you can even see some testimonials there as well. But yeah, I also have a free toolbar, by the way, if you want it. I have the one here at the top. It's called the productivity toolbar. This one's completely free. The one that I used to chop the sample earlier, you can download that at, I believe it's at my website too, ivancalderon.com/free toolbar. That's what it is. Fender bought Personas in 2021. Stop the tribalism. That was honestly, bro, like that was the funniest part about this to me, because the way some people were framing it were like, they just bought Studio One and whatever. Like, nah, man. I know we're trying to, whatever. No. It's been happening. Danny said, yeah, it's a subscription and I hate subscriptions, but for the thing, I am okay to pay a few bucks every month. Yeah, I'm not against subscription, against all subscriptions. They just have to have the value. Like if it doesn't, then it just doesn't make sense for me. But I'll check it out, 1000%. Yeah, if you save, you can't open in. Yeah, exactly. If you save in 7, you can open it in 8, but you can't reopen it back in 7. So that's what I'm saying. Be careful. If you have projects that are really important, just make sure you're doing the thing. How do you feel about the new extract drums feature? Skip, are you talking about like the chopping thing that I showed, or like the or are you talking about the new extract drums to MIDI thing? Because they also got this going on. Let me see here real quick. This might have been like the melodic one. I might have to save that sample because it's kind of fire. I've been getting up in the mornings, and the first thing I do now is I set aside an hour just to or even 30 minutes, it don't matter, just to make some shit, kind of get some reps in. But let's talk about that real quickly. I think you might have been referring to the audio to MIDI conversion, and someone else mentioned it a little bit earlier, but when you have either a melodic loop or a drum loop, you can now drag that into a MIDI instrument, and it does the conversion. And so let's try it with this one, This is a melodic loop. If I drag this over to Nexus, then this is the extract notes. And so it should do the notes. So for reference here. So boom, bum, bum, bum. Keeping note of that rhythm there. I think I might have some, oh, you know what it is? Oh my God, bro. I have some extra reverb, and I added all the plugins a little bit earlier. Bro, listen, it's not perfect, but that's pretty dang fire. Yo, listen. Yeah, it's not getting every single little thing, obviously, but I think this is pretty dang good in situations where maybe you get a loop from a buddy and you guys are producing, you're like, what the heck did this man play? Or what did she play? Or even from Splice, what are they playing? This is pretty handy. The other one is with drums, and I believe that's the question that they had asked. Sorry guys, I deviate a lot of times. ADHD brain. Let's drag it into here, and so if I have a drum loop, let me unmute this. Yeah, with drums it works as well. If I drag this over, let's just drag it over to Impact. extract. Oh no, I hit the wrong thing. Go over to impact, extract drums. Here's something interesting that I found about this though. Whenever you use the audio to MIDI note conversion on drums, it pulls from, did I do that right? Last time that I did it, it pulled from like one of the libraries called drum extraction. Yeah, so there's a new drum extraction preset where it pulls from. Now, to your question, I think that's what you were referring to. Do I find it useful? I do, to a degree. A lot of times when I'm making drums, I'll just like tap those in myself, or I'll use my toolbar. I just like to make my own drums. A lot of times I'll use loops for like percussive stuff to kind of add a little bit of like oomph and weight. But I can see this being useful in maybe like a scenario where I'm trying to take the groove off of something else. I don't know. I think the melodic one is useful, but you might be right. This one might not be. I'll have to play around with it. But yeah, personally for me, like I make my own drums, so maybe it's not a thing that, you know. Drum track click is definitely one of my favorite underrated features. Yes. Let me show that real quickly for the ones who don't know. We have a click track, obviously, that's pretty standard. Right? I believe the click, yeah. Well, now we also have a new drum musical metronome is what they're calling it. And this is way too fast, Jesus Christ. I think I might have had it on metal last time that I was messing around with this. But you can, yeah. You can change this to a bunch of different genres. I think it's really cool for jamming, for maybe, you know, just kind of messing around. Guitar players are going to love this. You could do double speed. You could do half speed. And you know what? Let me try something here, because I actually haven't looked at this. You could always render or like print the click track. I wonder if it would print out the drums. Would it? It does! It does print the drums! That's crazy! Yo! I'm not mad at that. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, look at that. Learn something new. I do love this new musical metronome, though. I think it's fire. Does the update cost a lot? I'm going to be honest with you, Blake. I don't know. Just full transparency, y'all. I get these for free from Fender. You know? But I don't think it's a lot. I think it might be like $100 to update. Although, I will say this. And listen, who am I, right? This is not my company. But I don't know. It just feels weird that they promised like a bunch of updates on 7 and we only got to 0.2. You know? Like in my heart, in my mind, if you bought 7, I would have just given you like 8 for free since they didn't really do updates last year. It went from like 0.2 to 8. That's just me. But again, not my company. But I think it's $100, and you know what? I'll just for the sake of transparency here, maybe I'll verify this for you in a second. Let's try Fender Studio Pro update price. Let's find out. So it is $200 perpetual. We knew that. I'm not seeing an update. It might just be one thing that it might be one of those things that you have to log into your account to see. Beat making toolbar clutch. Yes. Pick it up, y'all. Pick it up. Look, again, a little shameless plug, but it's all right. I know we cool here. It works with Impact and it works with Sample One, but essentially the Beatmaker's toolbar. This is what this is here, and so it helps you program hats, snares, chords, whatever you want. I'm currently on Impact, and so I can go to hats, Impact, create quarter notes, just like that. And I don't have a sample currently loaded, so let's load one in so I can show you fully. Oh, it might actually. So it programs all that. You could also do like snares. So impact snare on 2 and 4. Boom. And you don't have to delete these if you want to change them. If you're like, you know what, I actually want to go on snare on 3. Boom. These are all macros that I've built. It's taken me a ton of time to build these, but you could do that. You could do like if you want to do a reggaeton snare. Boom. Right? It's all there. It's all there. So if you want to pick that up, definitely go cop it at the site. It'll be there for you. Be there and waiting. Native, it says Native Instruments form is fire, and like how Cosmos used to be super dope. It's Reactor. I think you're talking about the sample organizer, right? I don't know if I'm familiar with form. Kenneth says, Ivan, your knowledge has blessed my music, man. Dude, listen, Ken, I'm. It makes me happy to know that, you know, these videos are reaching you guys and making a meaningful impact. I'm just happy to be here and helping, man. Yeah, extract drums to MIDI. Yeah. So going back to your comment, Skip, I'll have to play around with it. I don't know. I like that we have it. I just don't know when I would use it. You know? I think they did a bad job in marketing for extract drums feature. I feel like it's more for live drums replacement. That's a good point. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me because if this is more of like a guitar focus update where they are sort of like looking into the players, that would be something that maybe they could use a little more than like the production community. So, but again, y'all, listen, I'm not mad at it because if you'll notice, nobody's ever going to be 100% happy. When we had 7 and we had a bunch of the production features, the audio guys were, you know, not upset, but you know what I mean? Like, when is it our turn? This feels more like an audio guitar sort of feature. So I'm not mad at it simply because I know Personas and Fender's team personally, and they really care. Like, I understand, like, this week we were all kind of upset, but they're all musicians and they care. And they've listened, you know, like I have these conversations with them and they listen. So I'm sure we'll get something else in the future. Best service website. Oh, cool. Yeah, definitely. Billy said, FYI, if you open version 7 song in version 8 and save it, you cannot open it again. And yeah, that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. You gotta be careful with what you open up in version 8. That tune is like when you drop it in. Yeah. Skip said, I like the notes a lot, but drums, nah. I would agree. I think the melodic audio to MIDI, fantastic. Dreamsly said, if you have Melodyne Studio, Melodyne Beats extract notes. It does. I actually have not the one that comes with Studio One, but the version above it. But admittedly, I haven't messed around with it too much. So there's a link to the description. Yes, pick up the free toolbar, y'all. It's free. It should be in the description of this video, I believe. I think I set it up that way. But if you use Studio One, Jesus Christ, if you use Studio Pro, you should have this in your session. It's free. Do you think Fender will include Pro emulation that comes with Mastertone eventually? I hope so. I sure hope so. Because, yeah, you're right. That Mustang is definitely entry level. I really hope so, man. I'm waiting to see what they're doing, so I'll keep an eye out. I think Personas is getting phased out completely. They kind of already did from the recording side of it. Because as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, they've given all the recording assets and products over to Fender completely, to the Fender side completely now. So they're not getting phased out as a company, I don't think, but they're not in charge of any audio production stuff anymore. They're only in charge of live gear, from what I was able to understand. Yeah, it's a general MIDI drum set, so you can use it with other stuff. Cool. Charles says, how do you extract the groove from a drum loop that explodes? I don't think I understand, Charles. Walk me through that one. Kenny says, I have old songs that I rendered where I don't have the MIDI anymore. This is great. Yeah, it's a cool feature. I'm telling you guys. How can you extract a groove from a drum loop? Well, I think you might have sent that twice, Charles. How do you extract a groove from a drum loop that explodes to pitch? I'll have to get back to you on that one. Yeah, so Dreamslide is confirming for us. It's 99 upgrade, 199 new user. And you get, at least for the new user, I know this, you get a 1 year of free updates. That's what that countdown is in your About section, right? It's not when they're taking away your perpetual license. It's just when your 1 year of updates ends. West Empire says, petition to bring back the name. I'm still with Studio 1.6 and I bought FL Studio after Studio 1.7 BS. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going back on this one. For me, like, and you've seen it a couple times, it's just like my brain is stuck on Studio One. That's gonna take a while. And my Privy says, yes, the render works, and yes, my guitarist sense loves it. Have a great rest of your live stream. Off to make some supper. See you, bro. Thank you for coming in. Actually, I don't even know if you're a guy or a girl, but thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for spending some time with us. Go enjoy your supper. Thank you so much. I ain't gonna lie, one of the most slept on add-ons for Studio One is a Toolbox Heaven and others from Culture Sounds. I'm not, you know what? I'm not familiar with the company, but I have seen them pop up once or twice. So if you vouch for them, I'll check them out. They discontinued S1 Prime, but they'll drop a free Squire version for... I'm honestly surprised they haven't completely... Or, no, they actually have. That's what you're saying. They discontinued S Prime. Yeah, and that makes sense. Because now, basically, they're defaulting to sort of a two-version approach. You have Fender Studio, which is the mobile version, like the... You know what I mean? And then a Fender Studio Pro, which is what this is. Now, whether they're going to make the stripped-down version, Fender Studio, available for computer, I don't know. Well, we'll have to see. The kicks, hi-hats, and snares always end up on the same MIDI note, and now with the extract drums... oh, I see what you're saying. Huh. I'll mess around with it. I'll get back to you on that. Because if that's... Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. Retrovision, I wonder why they put other compressors, EQs, and console plugins behind a subscription paywall. Wait, they did? Nuh-uh. They put extra plugins behind a paywall? Like now? In this version? Clarify that for me. Because I wasn't aware. Yes, Charles, if you do get to that solution before all of us, let us know. But I'll keep a lookout as well. 1000%. But, yeah, man, honestly, at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, the name was weird, but as long as they don't switch up too much on me, I really don't care, because I'm here to make music. I'm here to, you know, have fun, and that's all that matters to me. They make production, and I said this and I meant it, but this software really does make production a joy for me. So until they do some like wild out of the box kind of situation, I'm sticking with them for the time being. So, yeah. Charles said, I want the groove from a classic beat, break beat, but use modern drums. The extra fat channel stuff, the extra bus emulation things are... Oh! Well, you know what? Dreamslide, I guess, because they still have that subscription and they're going to need some way to differentiate it. As long as they don't, like, gatekeep some of the... I don't know. I think it's whatever. They also gave us that new vocoder, like, voice effect box situation, if you guys didn't know. That one's pretty fun. I showed it off in the video that's coming, but essentially... Peep, let me show you real quick. The other thing that throws me for a loop is that the inspector window and the track list lane used to be at the top here. Now it's at the bottom. So my mouse keeps going over to the top. But if we go over to here, and then we go, let me pull this PD70 up. Ooh, actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because I'm live streaming. But essentially, I'll just show you guys really quickly. There is a new voice effects that's pretty legit. and it kind of gives you a bunch of different things. It has like a vocoder, it has a like a ring modulator, it has some filters, and so can you guys hear that? You might be able to hear twice. What if I mute myself and then only use? You might not be able to hear, but play around with this one. This one's pretty cool. If you guys listen to sort of like more pop music, like Black Bear, for example, he does like hip hop, pop rap, or whatever. He does this really cool effect where his voice just kind of like decrescendos. That's how you say it, right? Yeah, it just kind of comes down to a lower octave. So I'm thinking you could do something like this with the automation. It'd be pretty cool. That one's pretty awesome. Retrovision said when they introduced a subscription, they took away the option to purchase the other plugins. Oh. Yeah, I'm guessing they must have wanted something to be exclusive for the subscribers. Turn on the monitor button in S1. Did I not have it on? What a rookie mistake. What a rookie mistake. Can you guys hear now? Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing. I think you guys can hear. This is pretty cool. And then you can go a little lower, like a little late night talk show host. Welcome back to the smooth sounds of I don't know, I don't have a DJ name.
But that's pretty cool. That little effect is pretty cool. There's a bunch. And listen, hold on. We got to do one more. Because the vocoder.
If we go over to
Vocoder A, this is pretty cool. Vocoder E, also pretty cool. Do some like Daft Punk stuff. Robo. Yeah, this is fun for me, man. This is too fun. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Charles said, okay, the new extract drum feature does it pretty good, but you have to go in and delete the notes. Didn't sound too bad for what it is. I'm telling you, man. I was playing around with that earlier, just messing around, but it's a cool little effect. I think it could be used in really creative ways when it comes to production. Sending messages to Mars. For sure. Charles said you can drag an audio loop or MIDI loop inside of the groove section. Oh yeah, that's been possible for a while. 1000%. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, essentially, if you open up the, I believe it's the quantize section here, and you go over to the groove section right there, you could always drag. I'll use it. Let me get a loop here. Another drum loop. You could drag it in here. And then when you drag it in here, you could just drag the MIDI. So this is sort of kind of like the new extract feature, but you know, I think this one was just I don't think it was as good, but it is available. But anyway, yeah, man, this is I have another video coming out probably like Monday or Tuesday going over the new features in detail. Plus, I always like to have a video just out there so you guys can reference if you ever need to go back and check out like what's happening. And then I am going to NAMM. I might be crazy for this, but I fly out tomorrow. I have a 7 a.m. flight and I haven't even packed yet. But I have a video coming out on some of the things that I want to see with Impact. Obviously, like showcasing that a little bit better with more, more of a polished sort of perspective. And then I'm making some stuff with a friend in LA. Trinity. She uses Studio One. Really dope producer too. So we'll be dropping a video together so you guys can see some of these features in action. Look out for that as well. But anyway, you guys got anything else you got going on? Because if not, I might have to dip soon. Carlos says, sorry, no, it's not worth the upgrade. It's worth if you jump from another doll. Yeah. Well, here's the cool thing too, Carlos, and I tell this to people all the time. You don't. They probably don't want me to say this. I don't know. You don't have to upgrade. You know, you could just use it for what it is. And so I don't, I'm not hating on that for sure. Trinity made a dope short. Yeah, bro. Trinity's super, super dope. Trinity is such an inspiration. I met her last year at NAMM too, and she's an incredible human being, incredible producer. I'll be linking up with her on Monday. We're gonna be recording some stuff together and then putting out a video, a little collab video. So look out for that. Really dope producer. I'm really excited to be able to make some stuff with her. So if you are watching Trinity, much love. I'll see you soon. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna end it here simply because I still have to pack and I have a 7 a.m. flight tomorrow. I have to wake up at like at 5:30 or some like crazy hour of the day. So if you guys are gonna be at NAMM, I don't know if you are, but if you are, come say hi if you see me. I'll be jumping around from like booth to booth. I have a couple of different places that I want to get to. A lot of cool gear that I want to see, and obviously a lot of people that I also want to link up with. So if you're out there, don't be shy. Let me get back to the chat here. But yeah, thank you so much for coming into the stream today. I think we're here for what, like an hour and a half or something like that. Yeah, man, I'm excited for Studio One or Fender Studio or Studio Pro or whatever it is. Expect videos when those new controllers come in. I'll be making some beats with that too. But €7 a month. I mean, what is that, like $5 or something? Like, that's not bad. I'll look into it. I'll look into it. All right, my friends. Thank you once again. You could have been anywhere tonight, but you decided to be here with me, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out with me, and of course, as always, thank you for being a subscriber of the channel and a member of this community. I value each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Check out my stuff on my cop if you want to, cop some stuff for your production, your sessions. Come say hi at NAMM if you're going to be there. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. That's all I got. I got to go eat dinner and pack. Where is NAMM? It's in Anaheim. It's always in Anaheim. Clip Farm. I will. All right, y'all. I gotta head out. But